Hello, I'm Lot, and I've got a tale or two about my move to Sodom that might just tickle your funny bone. Now, moving houses is no small feat in any era, let alone in my time, when a good old camel was your moving van and your herds were your noisy, messy passengers. It all started when my Uncle Abraham and I had a bit too much prosperity for comfort. You see, our livestock were multiplying faster than gossip in a small town, and the land couldn't hold us both. Our herdsmen were always at each other's throats. Imagine a bunch of grown men arguing over whose goat ate what. It was high time for a family meeting. Abraham, being the gentleman he was, gave me first dibs on the land. I took a good, long look around and, my friends, the grass was definitely greener on the other side, the side leading to Sodom. A decision that made my herdsmen grin like they'd just found water in the desert. But, as I soon found out, greener pastures can sometimes just mean more weeds. Packing up was an adventure in itself. Ever tried coordinating a move with a flock of sheep? It's like trying to organize a dance party for cats. Arriving in Sodom was another chapter. The town was bustling, a stark contrast to our peaceful, open plains. My wife was immediately not a fan. "Lot," she said, "you've taken us to a town where people spend their days buying things they don't need, with money they don't have, to impress people they don't even like." I had to chuckle. She had a point. In those first days, as we tried to settle in, I often thought back to Abraham's peaceful camp. But here we were, in Sodom, ready to start anew. Life in Sodom could make the calmest shepherd pull his hair out. The locals had a peculiar way of doing things, and fitting in was like trying to teach a goat to read, frustrating and somewhat hilarious. For starters, the fashion here was nothing like our simple shepherd garbs. Men strutted around in robes so bright, you'd think they were trying to blind each other. And the parties? Let's just say they started at bizarre and went straight to bewildering. One day, I tried to join a local feast, hoping to make some friends. I walked in with my plain robe and immediately felt like a sheep in wolf's clothing. A fellow with a robe that could double as a peacock's tail sidled up to me. "New in town?" he asked, eyeing my attire. "What gave it away?" I quipped, hoping my dry humor would pass for local wit. He just stared. Apparently, Sodomites didn't do sarcasm. Adjusting wasn't easy for my wife either. She missed the quiet of the plains and often made dry remarks about our neighbors. "They'd probably sell their own mothers for a handful of silver," she'd say, shaking her head as we watched another over-the-top display of wealth. Family dynamics took on a new flavor too. My daughters were fascinated by the local customs, diving into Sodom's social life with a zeal that both impressed and terrified me. "Dad, can we go to the market?" they'd ask. "Sure," I'd reply, "as long as you don't bring back any golden calves or betroth yourselves to a statue." They'd roll their eyes, but I could tell they were secretly plotting their next shopping trip. As the days turned into months, rumors began to swirl about divine discontent with Sodom's morals. After all, who would have thought a city this vibrant could be on the brink of divine disfavor? But beneath the laughter, a sense of foreboding grew. Maybe, just maybe, our stay in Sodom would be shorter than I had hoped. As the whispers of divine discontent turned into roars, things in Sodom began to feel, well, a bit too heated even for this sun-scorched city. It was during one particularly ordinary morning, while arguing with a merchant over the price of a sandal, as if my soul depended on it, that we received the most unusual visitors, two angels disguised as travelers. They had a message that would turn our world upside down. These weren't your average guests. They came with a warning that was as serious as a plague of locusts, but delivered with the subtlety of a stage whisper. "Leave Sodom, and don't look back," they said. For Sodom's Yelp reviews have reached the heavens, and let's just say, they're not raving. The instructions were simple, but the escape plan? Far from it. In the dead of night, we packed our bags. As we hustled out of town, my wife kept fretting over the kitchen spices she'd left behind. "Lot, the cumin," she'd cry. "Forget the cumin, dear, unless you plan on seasoning the brimstone," I'd reply, trying to keep the mood light despite the gravity of our flight. Then, the moment that would sear itself into history, my wife, unable to resist the pull of curiosity, turned for one last look at our home. There was a flash, a gasp, and in her place stood a pillar of salt. I stood there, stunned, not just by the loss of my wife, but by the literal and figurative upheaval of our lives. Behind us, Sodom lit up the sky like a dreadful sunrise. Ahead, the unknown awaited, a path as barren and challenging as any we faced. Reflecting on it all, I can't help but find a dark humor in our story. Here we were, running from divine fire, and all my wife wanted was her kitchen spices. Life, it seems, is the strangest comedy of all. In the end, we move forward, not because it's easy, but because looking back is the only thing we can't afford. Thanks for joining us on this wild journey from Sodom. If you enjoyed the story, like and subscribe for more like this. Drop a comment below, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to share with friends and check out our other videos for more entertaining tales. Keep exploring with us.